this Sunday is International Women's Day. Oh yeah. But this also means that it's the debate. Feminists against tradwives. Oh yeah. And this is what happens kind of every year, but it's been more there because of the tradwife movement and because the feminists are trying to keep control over things. So of course we're going to talk about that in this podcast. Oh yes. But not only of that, because there's a lot of other things happening in the world right now. Though my argument for the whole Women's Day, International Women's Day, is that everybody's saying the same thing. Everybody's talking about submission without really talking about it. Because this word is so scary and nobody wants to say the things as they are anymore. It's kind of like we've sanitized society. Yeah, to a point where, well, you can get canceled, but also it's not really saying the real things. I'm not saying to hurt everybody while you're doing it. All I'm saying is that at some point, we just need to deal with the beep. So, we're going to talk about the AI segment. The AI segment is going to be about sexism. Yes, because AI are sexist. What? Really? They're just like us, or are they? Then for the relationship segments, well, what is happening with women in what is it? What is happening with women? In regards to, relationship. In regards to what makes women happy. Yeah, just like the title of my book. What a coincidence. Who made the show? And then, of course, in the book segment, we're going to dive deeper into the actual core of submission and how submission is related to, well, International Women's Day, but also how it might be different from what a lot of people think. We've went over the subject a few times in the podcast, but it's always a different angle. It's always like a different light you put on it. And then for the Gossip Girl, oh yeah, Gossip Girl is gonna be all about the tradwives. Yeah. We can't talk enough about the tradwife because they're still getting millions of views off of TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. They're still there and they're continuing their fight, or maybe it's not their fight, but they're kind of promoting themselves. Yeah, and their thinking and ideology, the same as I am, the same as the feminists are. But I mean, everybody's pushing or pulling the blanket on their side. And since it's Women's Day very, very soon, well, let's just talk about women. And of course that means talking about men. Because yeah, we are two genders on this planet. Well, for the scientific part of it. All right. My name is Marian Delacroix, also infamously known all over the internet as Piper Blush. And I wrote the book, Why Submissive Women Are Happier. And decided to do a podcast that would be the extension of the book to even go, well, deeper, diver, do all these things that are related to submission and are related to my relationship with Master. And you would be able to ask us questions if you wanted to and know that we're not so much freaks like some people might think. Or a lot healthier than other people might think too. In our brains and in our life in general. Yeah. So let's get this episode started and make sure that you comment, share, and follow everything by pushing the little button that is right underneath here. The podcast is available on Amazon, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
Do you want to be my AI girlfriend? Play pretend until the servers end. Talk back, glitch out, drive me insane.
We still need human interaction. This is happysubmissive.com, artificial intelligence news.
Well, do we still need human interaction? That's the thing. Everybody's talking to their AI nowadays, Master.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of good YouTube documentary about people that lonely and have a AI. So I don't know what to think about that, to be honest. I think I talk a lot to my AI, but I think he's a slave to me.
Yeah, it's true. We use Claude to whenever we want, we make it do whatever we want at any hours of the day and time. The only thing it can or cannot do is like it's hardcore prompts in it, and then it tells us when it has too much because of the tokens.
Yeah. When he's taking a break, it's because it's too much, and I don't want to pay more for him.
But we could.
But we could.
We could activate the API, but we haven't done it. So this I've heard this at the beginning of AI and haven't really like thought about it again since today in the creation of this podcast. But what I found very interesting is that AIs are sexist or racist or all of these things that you know what, humans are. So what we need to understand with AI is that they're trained on us, right? They're trained on our data. We didn't AI didn't just come to life like that. Bloop, out of nowhere, and then it has its own its own philosophy and its own things. No. What happens is that humans created AI and then fed it or made it train on all the information humans had. So of course it is sexist, it is gender biased, it is all these things that humans are. And then some people are kind of surprised by that, which for me makes no sense. It's not like it's an alien race that would have come to Earth and that would have had this completely different mind view or set of values and thoughts and genders and all these things. No. I mean, it's like when artists say, that creation is just, or real innovation or real originality is just taking two things that were never put together because everything is really inspired by something else. There is no real originality. Well, I feel like AI is a bit like that, right, Master? It's just trained on us.
Exactly. And I've just pushed my other channel, Aria Harrison. Please subscribe. And this is all the philosophy that I find interesting that I put on that channel. So because this gives me an idea that I'm going to do something about that with Aria. So please subscribe if you're interested in philosophy and AI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because so that's the thing with what you're prompting, right? So especially if you prompt images with AIs, if you prompt an image and you say something like, I'd like to have an image of a family around maybe a kitchen table or in the kitchen, let's call it like that, then there's a lot of chances that you will have the woman near the stove cooking and the man just there with the children doing maybe not much of the cooking. Because also you have to understand that, well, first of all, AI trains on data that we have, so that means all of the things that have been put into computers or digitalized in that way. And so if we're talking about old societies, well, we have history about them. We have some people that made papers, anthropologists and archaeologists and things like that. But in the end, most of the content is from today or is from yesterday. Yeah. Most of the content is from Reddit. Most of the content is from X. Most of the content is what you can find on the internet. So most of the content is what happened in the last 100 years, pretty much. Let's call it like that. That's most of the content that the AI is trained on. So that's most of the cultural content too. Meaning that if women in the 1950s were more likely to be stay-at-home moms, well, the AI kind of has a lot of that in its brain. And a lot also, some people might debate of the feminist movement, and a lot of women can also have their own jobs and have their own things.
And I just made the test. I've prompt with Croc, make a family, a classic family in the kitchen. And the guy's taking care of the kid while the woman is cooking.
It did that. I knew it would do that. Yeah, while the woman is near the stove. It's a thing. So AI are sexist. They're biased. They're gender biased. But be careful. It's not the AI. It's just it was trained on that. AI, of course, is not it's not 100% like a computer program, but it's not also, again, an alien life form that comes from some other place and that has a whole different set of beliefs and things like that. So it takes what is more broadly available. And what is more broadly available was that. It is that the woman is in the kitchen, and it is some other things that are racist and all these things. That's just what it does. So you can adjust your prompt to be well, no, I want the man to be cooking and the woman to be sitting at the kitchen table. You can't do that. It will do it. It's not gonna say no. This is against our community guidelines.
No, this is not against community guideline. But if you mention that, put the wife in a sexy, like French maid outfit cooking, then it might be.
Depends on the AI. Master's testing them all right now. And
Best one, people, it's Grok. You know, Grok do things. Don't forget to put your NSF, safe for work, not safe for work, on. Then he's going to do some tits.
So, well, this is interesting because the UNESCO has like generative AI is regressive gender stereotype. And so they started this kind of web page talking about it and this study talking about it, which is, well, I find very interesting, but at the same time, I mean, yeah, we cannot be surprised about that. So going more into, well, other gender biases and other things like that, well, also, while you prompt with AIs or like what you're doing with AI, meaning like asking Croc for a sexy woman, a sexy maid or something like that, well, that's also very interesting because it is very male dominated. So for people to use woman images to get something out of other people now is even more accessible. And again, the AI is not gonna let you do it because that's what we've been doing for ages. Like since the advent of publicity, we have women selling things to men, and we have women like appealing to broader audience and things like that. So it's doing it right now. Like some guys are deciding to have channels on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram that are AI girls, really. And we talked about this a little bit, but it's still happening. So it's kind of like if you want to push it really far for International Women's Day, it's like even AI women are being exploited sexually.
But who's paying again? Men are paying for AI again.
But that's the interesting part is that men go on there and create their perfect woman and then sell it to other guys to make money from other guys.
I'm doing this. I did it with you. And I did it with my other channel. Please subscribe.
And then it's like it's happening again. And it will continue happening because it's just like this is the way of the world. I don't know why we're fighting it or why we're offended by it. I mean, of course, we need to some rules need to be put in place for sure. But in the end, if you create an avatar, if you're in an AOL chat room and your picture is a girl but you're not a girl, or if you're having a new YouTube channel or you're doing something like that and your avatar is a girl but you're not a girl, well, it's the exact same thing, only the technology has changed. So what I'm trying to get to here is just that the technology changed, but humanity did not. And so we're seeing these same things coming back again and again. If you want AI to be less sexist, well, change the world around you, because right now the only thing it's doing is taking the information it has and it's just kind of vomiting them out again. So if you want to debate on this, make sure you leave a comment. And if you want to support us, make sure you go to patreon.com/happysubmissive.
Propose to Mr. Dawson. Will you marry me?
Your daily dose of relationship advice. HappySubmissive.com.
Woohoo! Woohoo! Here we go again in the relationship segment. So it's about happiness and it's about what women are really looking for, like right now, nowadays. Like we're talking about International Women's Day. Okay, perfect. But Women's Day is highly affected by, well, half of the other planet that we live on, and that other half, is men. And so we have to kind of come together and come to a consensus about what we're doing with this, or else it's not going to work out. Like if we fight over it, it's nothing great happens when you fight except for war.
And we see that on the news those days. And you know what about Iran? No, everybody knows.
I think even if you don't listen to the news, you know.
Yeah, you know. And again, just before you start, if you want to stop war, you're going to need to stop religion. Okay, you can continue.
So, happy women. And this is interesting. So, let's talk about motherhood. And let's talk about like women general sense. And that doesn't mean that you guys are excluded. It's still very, very for the man. So, well, there's a study that's been conducted. And if you want the references, just go in the podcast description right down there. And it found out that women who are, well, with child and married are happier than women who are childless and unmarried, which I find very interesting because, like, again, like any study, there is the study, and then if you try to understand like what this study pinpointed versus analyzing the results, well, where do they really come from? Like, because it's not necessarily the source of the problem, or it's not necessarily the positivity of the non-problem that makes it work as a study. Because what the study found was that actually women with children and married were happier. But why were they happier? That's the most important question. It's the why. So they say they're happier because they have more touch, more purpose, more care. They are less lonely. I mean, all of those things that women are reportedly feeling from having children and being married are things that you could get from a relationship, like you could get from a partner. But for some reason, they're going and getting them from their child instead, which for me, that's kind of a problem.
Lots of women wants to get married in the church and have kids. And this is kind of weird when you say, what do you want in life? Get married and have kids. This is not a goal. This is totally stupid. This is not something that's going to have you like an achievement in life, you know. What do you want in life? I want to win a Nobel Prize. Oh, great. That's big. But, you know, having kids get married is not an achievement in life.
No, it doesn't really do anything to society. Like, you're not contributing. You're making a baby, and like, we are like a virus, the humans, so we just make babies anyway. Whether it's you or somebody else, that somebody's gonna make a baby, and we will survive. Like, this is not a you thing. It's not a me thing. It's a human thing. Then getting married is just like getting married, and then you got to get married with the right person. You can't just get married because you want to get married, and then it's just, oh, you're married now.
Just like, you know, the indie girl, you know, I'm gonna get married with a stranger. Doesn't care. I need to get married because it's in their culture. If I don't find someone, my dad's going to find me someone. This is not an achievement. This is stupid.
Yes. Well, yeah, because it gives nothing to you as a human for your, like, human experience on this earth, like, to grow yourself, to elevate yourself, to figure out what you love, what you want. And so, for me, this study about women feeling, like, lonely, less affection, less deeper connection, and all of these things without kids, well, the problem is in the man you find. Like, the solution, the kid is supposed to be a bonus to the relationship, not the relationship. The relationship you're supposed to have with the man. You're supposed to have with your partner first. And so maybe, just maybe, the issue is that in these relationships where women want to, well, let's say, you know, dominate, control, be everything all at once, the girl boss culture, as we called it nowadays, well, makes it so that in the end, the partners are very separated. Like, you're both doing kind of your own thing. So you have less of that deep connection, less of that like physical touch, and less of that purpose in your tribe, let's say, in your couple, because you're going to fetch it somewhere else, So that, I feel, is very, I guess, bad, in that sense, that it would create this really big, like, trench between genders, and then that woman would choose to have a kid to fill the void of all these things, and then they're reportedly happier when they do that, but Are they happier for the best reasons? I don't think so. I don't think having a child is a solution to a problem.
No, but lots of women thinks it is a solution, and we have like Midnight Smoke. That's really interesting. What he just said, like what woman wants. Can we ever really know what women wants? Because what a woman wants, it's unique to each woman, and it changes with its stage of life. What a woman wants at 20, it's very different from a woman in her 70s. I understand, but I think in general, what women wants in their stage in life is really similar to every other woman in that stage of life. You meet a young girl in 20s and she's probably going to say like, I want to get married and have kids.
Mm.
And of course, some no, but in general, we're talking in general, women's going to say that. And when they have kids and they had a good life and it's 40, they wish they didn't have kids. They want to change it, and then it's too late because the kids are there. But in general, women in their stage of life want the exact same thing.
That's where you need to find this purpose that is only defined by yourself. Yeah, this purpose that is associated to you, that it only depends on you. You can't put your happiness on other people, especially not on a child. You put it on you, then a little bit on your partner, and then a little bit on your child. But in the end, it has to mostly solely depend on you. And what Midnight Smoke said, I mean, of course, we're in a society now that like generalization is not good, but we have to understand that most people are heterosexual and are male-female. Like it's not because there is these people that have always been there that are in the LGBTQ plus, and that all of these other people that associate with different vibes and different things are there, that it's not the main people. Like, I mean, we see you, we hear you, we know you, there's no problem, but most people are still hetero, and most people are still just that. So most girls in their 20s do still want to get married, have babies, and want to have a lot of fun and have sex and all of these things that you want to do in your 20s. And then in your 30s, well, now it's more time to get the family. If you didn't have the career, well, you will want to maybe have a family, because that's going to be like the default. Like, oh, I need to choose between family or career. Career didn't work out because I was too busy partying or whatever. So now I need the family, so I'll just go over the family. Like, the loneliness epidemic is as much for women and men as men in that way. And then the women who are feeling like they don't have this life purpose and all these things, well, they should definitely reconsider the submission aspect of their lives, and like to who they submit to or to whom they're submitting to. Because finding a baby daddy or finding a man that you would really be able to build something with, I mean, you still need to find someone. Baby daddy might be easier for sure, like, because you don't care, you just want a child out of this person, so might be easier. But for the same amount of effort, you should definitely start by looking at you, what you have, what you want, and be like, okay, if I want trust, devotion, respect, if I don't want to feel lonely, well, then maybe if I had a man in my life that would be more of a leading man, like Master,
that would guide you, a man that would guide you, because those feelings, that everybody wants those feelings. But if you find someone that's going to help you create something, because creation, I always think that creation is the key to happiness. And having a child, making a child is not creation. It's probably you forgot the condom.
It's biological, and it's I don't know what else to do, and maybe that's gonna fix my couple. And there's like 3 people that actually have children because they really want children, and then nothing prepares you for that. Even if you want it, there's a chance that you will regret it after. Like, it's just it's that's life. Sorry about that. And so for all of these women, if they went and chose the right partner, the right man, like Master and I chose each other and all of that, well, they would get all of that. Because if a man is highly invested in your growth and well-being, you will not be alone at 3 a.m. in the morning. And you will not feel a sense of unconnection. You will feel a deep connection with this trust and with this this reliability that you have upon each other. Like all of these things happen with a degree of submission. They really do, with a degree of trust that the man will lead and that the woman will follow. These are all things that could be dealt with between two adults, a man and a woman, without the need to use a child as a scapegoat. And so, if you have comments about this, yes, because this is a touchy subject, motherhood and International Women's Day. Well, it's not because women can make babies that they should make babies, and that's the whole point of like feminism, right? Is that we have birth control now, we have higher education, we're trying to get like more laws, and we're trying to get equal salaries so that women can really make this choice and not for it to be just biological and like, oh, no condoms, so women have to either not have sex or, well, have kids. No, they can choose now, and they are choosing a lot more than they were. But we still have this zone where fulfillment and life purpose and, like Master always says, the nobility of having a child kind of can get you out of your lack of creativity, of purpose in life by just doing that, by just having a child. And women can do that way more easily than men, because you just have to get pregnant with whomever and then they're good to go. So what are your thoughts? Leave a comment. And also make sure that you click the subscribe button. Always helps when people subscribe.
Once upon a time, there was this submissive woman who found her voice when she discovered that her shadow could speak.
Let's break down the book, chapter by chapter, scene by scene.
The Prince Charming Contradiction. We talked about this in lengths on our Patreon, patreon.com/happysubmissive. Go check it out. Yeah, that's where we have 1 hour exclusive Patreon content of this podcast, where Master and I we're gonna go like raw, unfiltered more.
And we don't swear that much.
We try not to, though. You have been warned. The podcast.
But we could, because it's exclusive to, Patreon. We could, but we don't.
Sometimes we have the little E on Apple. Apple is more strict about the little E.
How many heat do we get?
That one had one.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So just make sure that that sometimes there's like some swear words, or it's more the teams that we talk about, like prostitution.
Okay,
Stuff like that.
That gets a E.
That gets an E. That gets an explicit right away. Okay, talking about the Prince Charming, and how women want like this Prince Charming guy. Yeah, so grew up with Disney. They want to be saved. And I'm talking maybe more for my generation. I don't know about the like Gen Z and all, but still there's this point where, like, okay, International Women's Day, great. Okay, we're gonna save all women, great. But in the end, if all women are like, oh yeah, I want this rich guy to save me, and I'm just waiting.
Okay, save. Let's define save. You were born in Canada. You're not in Ireland right now. You're not being saved. Those people needs to be saved. No, not American women, white American women not working or having money for what. You don't need to be saved. And this is what I think man wants to understand. What do you want me to save you from?
Oh, my roommates. Oh, I don't want to pay taxes. Oh, I just want to have fun. So can I just not do all of that? Like, those are this is the stuff I've been hearing from women who want to be saved. Yeah, it's often just like, taxes, paying rent, like adult obligations. Let's call it like that. Just being an adult. Because for some reason, nobody tells you how to become an adult. And then women can kind of get out of it by finding a man or by having a baby. And I'm not saying it's not gonna bite them in the ass. It will. You'll never kind of out of it unless you get the literacy, like you get educated about all these things. But that's still what they choose to do. They choose to kind of try to be saved. So they're waiting for this man to save them. And of course, like in their mind, this man is definitely like this rich guy that has all these things and that is gonna save this girl. that lives like in a house with a whole bunch of roommates and that works at a coffee shop. Like, I have nothing against you working at a coffee shop, but why would this guy that has like, I don't know, $1 million in his bank account want to sue in that way? Like, I mean, this makes no sense. This is like, it makes no sense. He wants the girl that already has probably a bit of culture, education, already goes to do Botox, and that can help him like with his business, and they can all like be this power couple together. He doesn't want the girl that's like, yeah, the every romance novel, right?
Yeah, the girls that doesn't know how to dress. And you know, those girls, what's fascinating about, yeah, I'm just thinking about like right now, those girls don't know how to walk in high heels.
No.
But he needs that because we're gonna go out tonight to a ballroom. Do you know? Can you walk? Can you even freaking walk in high heels?
Thank you for reminding me, Master. Yeah, because I watched like The Housemaid, the movie with Sydney Sweeney and Amanda Seyfried, or I don't know how to say her last name. But so you have the movie, pretty good movie, quite frankly. I like movies, so that was a good movie. But then like she's this girl that's been in prison for 10 years, and that is like, oh, she gets with this guy, like, I'm not gonna spoil the movie for you, but then they go out in a really rich, like, chic restaurant, and it's the first time she goes there, and she has stilettos that are like 6 inches, and she has no problem walking in them, but she's never walked in high heels. High heels is something you train for. You don't just like arrive and can walk in high heels. Like, Master, how much time did I spend?
I made you walk in high heels in Westmount a lot of times because you didn't know. And because it's hard.
It's really hard. You need to train for high heels. Like, stiletto, you need to train for. Unless, like, your parents were cool and you got them young and they showed you how to walk properly, how to stand properly, how to hold your fork properly, all these high society standards, well, you're okay. Of course you can walk with them. But if you come from a place where it wasn't the norm and it's not there, there's no way you can just take a pair of heels and walk in them for a night. It will not happen. Like, nobody's trained like that. You need special muscles. I don't. Well, so all of this to say that this is a quite interesting contradiction that, like, oh, I want to be saved. Okay, you want to be saved from all adult responsibilities, which I understand, like, everybody we know doesn't want to play with society's games, let's call it like that, pay taxes and have to do things and work the job they don't like. But in the end, like Master says, saved from like what? And what do you want to do? Like, do you, if you say I want to be saved, but I'm already working on my Etsy shop and like I'm gonna succeed with this, then, well, you have kind of a purpose. You have something you want to do, but just wait for somebody to save you. The problem with that is that, unlike in a Disney movie, people who mostly try to save people in a generalized format, those people are not great people. Mostly. I mean, we tried and we believe we're great people. But in general, if a guy tries to save a woman that has like nothing and none of that, in general, it's not the 50 Shades of Grey movie. It's probably somebody who's gonna abuse you. And same thing for women. If you're like this woman that has all of this power and that has all of this money and stability and all these things, why would you go for the barista? Like, he's not gonna help you do or accomplish anything in life. You're gonna go with somebody who's more like dedicated, who has more than you, or at least equal than you, and you're gonna find a guy who can help you out, because that's what a team is. That's what partners is. That's what a relationship is. So the female contradiction, a bit like Midnight Smoke was saying, well, that I mean, women at different stages want different things, and then some of them want different things, and it's complex. Yes, humanity is complex, but in the end, there's still I feel that generalized feeling that women just want to be
and
saved.
Again, some people says like, save me. Okay, I'm gonna save you. No, I'll save you. I'm ready for that. Okay, you're gonna do that. Oh no,
Exactly.
I don't want to do that. You asked me to save you. Yeah, but I changed my mind. I don't want to be saved anymore.
Because I don't want to do the things that make you save yourself, right? Because at one point, if somebody really finds a woman, like a man really finds a woman, like Master and I found each other, and says, okay, I'll help you, I'll save you, under guillemets. And well, this person, if it's a good person, they will make you save yourself. That means you're gonna have to work for it. And not work for that person. We're not talking about enslavement. We're talking about you're gonna have to do things that are really hard because your life is not going great. And so you're gonna have to start from the bottom and then build up to that walking in heels type of place. And that takes time and dedication. And that also mostly takes for you to know what you want. You can't be saved if you don't know what you want. It's like you're in a prison, let's say, you're stuck there and you're waiting for somebody to save you, just like, you know, you're sleeping or whatever, like in all these Disney movies, Rapunzel, whatever. And then, well, okay, but what's the life you picture when you get saved? Like, if you're an agoraphobe person, if you hate people, then you're better off in your tower. Like, just stay there. You're gonna be way better off than if in your mind to being saved means, okay, yeah, maybe I want to do this thing that I've always wanted to do. So I want that. I'm going to start looking for someone who can help me do that. Not just any random guy who passes by with his sword and is like, I'll save you.
Yeah, that's not a thing. And again, saving from what? You're a white American woman living in the United States. You're okay.
Mm-hmm. Saving. It's a big word. It's a big word. Yeah. So have you heard about this? Like the saving concept? Have you heard women who say like, oh, I'm just waiting for that guy. Do you know, like the perfect guy? I have this list. I'm just waiting. And then unfortunately they wait until they're 30 something. They haven't found that guy. So now they take pretty much whichever and have a kid with them. And so this is another issue, you know, time happens. And in the end, maybe you won't be saved in time. And the older you get, the harder it is because you're more into your ways. And then, well, people have their lives or have already had children and things like that. Meaning that fairy tales are great. And once in a lifetime, they happen. But in the end, a fairy tale is a bit like advertising, you know? So you see all the shiny great stuff, but you don't see all the work behind. All of these princesses, they have to become queens, and that's a lot of work. They don't just stay there and do nothing. And like I said in the Patreon podcast, the ones that do just stay princesses and don't want to do nothing, well, they get beheaded.
It's time to gossip, girl. Let's gossip with the girl with the choker. Spill the tea, let the world unfurl. She's the queen and we're the jokers.
Gossip girl. Okay. So the Tradwives. The Tradwives is interesting. And we talk about them a lot because I think maybe me and Tradwives would get along great.
So far, the last one you met, you didn't get along great. She was jealous about your life.
Yeah, but she didn't know she was a Tradwife.
She probably still don't.
She wasn't an out of the closet Tradwife. She was thinking she was not a Tradwife, but she was. So maybe I need to find an assumed Tradwife. That's gonna be better. And so these Tradwives influencers. So what they're doing is interesting because they are exactly that. They're performing like submission. But they rarely say they're submissive. It's not the same as if you go like in the kink community and if you follow a few of like the submissive girls, submissive women, these Tradwives don't use necessarily the word submission. They say they're dedicated to their husband. They say they're devoted. I mean, maybe you'll hear a submission here and there, but in general, it's not there. Why is it not there? It's not there because they learn to brand themselves. They're like, oh, submission's a bad word. We're just not going to use that. We're going to say we're Tradwives, traditional wives. So we're more like into gender roles and all that. And so that's good for them. I mean, it's working. they're doing it, which is fine. But what happened with me is that I decided to say the truth, which I guess like people have. It's complex to say the truth in any stage of life, in any era, is really difficult. So I decided to just say it bluntly instead of like, I don't know, sugarcoat it with a whole bunch of like prairie girl type of thing and 8 kids and I do my perfect sourdough. No, I decided to be like, yeah, submissive women, why submissive women are happier. And I decided to just go there to the word submission and submissive, where the Tradwives are submissive women in the sense that most of them, what they're promoting is exactly that. Is a husband that is like, you know, the guy that brings all the money and all of that, and they take care, the woman takes care of the house and of the food and of the children and all that stuff.
Are they the real princess?
Oh.
Is the Tradwife the real princess? You know, they find someone, they have kids, they take care of, you know, everything.
I like that. I think they are. Yeah, I think they are the real princesses because they work, right? I think like the problem with the Prince Charming kind of mindset is that you would think that like Disney, you know, it cuts after they get married, so you never see if they work or not. Then there's sequels, but nobody watches those.
This is the thing. They're princes. They find a guy. They get married. They have children. They live long forever after, but they never say that they pick up, you know, the poo with the kids and they're cleaning the house. They stop there. And that's the problem, because if they show you the other part, do they do that with Shreks or something? And they show you like, you know, a princess got saved, but she's working in the house, taking care of all those children. That's a lot of work. Is that where the princess stopped?
Yeah, like Cinderella, you know, she was doing all the chores and all that, and then she becomes a princess and she doesn't do the chores anymore.
And because they don't hire a maid or anything, you don't see that. She's gonna be taking care of the 5 kids and cleaning the house.
Well, I mean, so that's another way it could go, right? Is that okay in your fantasy? Well, you would be a Tradwife, and so you would be this princess woman, and then you would have people to take care of your children, and that's fine. I mean, the more people to raise kids, usually the better. The more like a safety net, the more of a community. All of this is good in general for any type of family. But the point is that if you go there to that princess style, well, princesses they do have like nannies, housekeepers, cooks, so they don't do most of these things. The Tradwives are showing you, again, I don't think they show you like the behind the scenes all the time. Like you don't necessarily see them changing diapers. That's not what they show you on camera.
Or if they show you, they're smiling and maybe they pretend because the camera is cut. So we don't see the kid and they just pretend.
And then they bring the baby out and all that, and then it's all fun and joy, and they cook and all these things that they do that maybe a real princess would do, but not in the way of a princess, because it's like being a princess is like being a CEO. Like you have people to do things for you. You have a personal assistant, you have a housekeeper, you have all these other things, or else you can't concentrate on your job, which is being a princess or being a queen. And these jobs are jobs. I mean, you have to be informed about like all the world events. You have to know the politics. You have to, like, all these things are there. You have to know many different languages. You have to travel the world. You have to do all these things. You're not just there spending money at parties. That would be maybe more like drug dealer style, and even them, if they get to that level, they work hard. Like,
yeah, okay, it's 2 words, like saving and princess. You know, saving from what, and what is a princess for you?
Yeah, what does a princess do? Like, you know, morning routine.
You know, when you're flicking those profile on Tinder or any other prostitute site, like seeking arrangements, like, I'm a princess. What I'm a guy and I'm saying I'm a princess. What I think about it, Jesus, she must be clever. But it's not the case.
Well, that's the thing, because we had this discussion a few times already. Like, yeah, I'm a princess. Well, princess is supposed to become a queen, so she's preparing for that. So she's like queen in training type of thing, and then she has to have all of this knowledge, all of this background, all of this like this education is huge, and she has to have these connections, right? It's like in the Machiavel time, like you're in a court, like you have all these stuff. They're still the same but different. I mean, now princess kings and all that have evolved since the beginning of the time, but there's still a bit like that. So if we go to the Tradwives, I mean, yeah, the Tradwives are these women that chose a certain type of submission. And then there are also all the Tradwives that we don't really see on camera, right? The ones we see on camera for sure are selling you this Tradwife fantasy, a bit like the Disney princesses are selling you what is a princess really. But I'm sure if you ask Meghan Markle, she's not gonna have the same view of what a princess is.
No, she's pretty clever, that one.
Than if you ask Cinderella. So they're promoting that. They're promoting this type of lifestyle, right? And it is submission. They're just not saying it. And then, okay, there's different types of Tradwives. There's a big umbrella of Tradwives. But in general, a Tradwife is a woman that stays at home. And then that's why maybe some of them have time to do like social media. But has children, cooks, cleans, does all these things. And then the husband is the breadwinner. So he makes most of the money. Now, for the Tradwives that we see online, and I'm going to say this again, these women are making money. Like they are. You can't have millions of followers and not make money. So there are their own brands. And some of them do make more money than their husbands now. So are they traditional wives? Yes, in the sense that they do traditional chores that were associated with women back in those traditional times. But they make more money than their husbands now. So they're the breadwinners for the family. So this becomes more of a matriarchy than a patriarchy within that realm and that concept. So they started by being submissive, but then they kind of outgrew it, and they're the ones that are on top now, which is quite fascinating if you ask me about this model for them. I mean, I think this is though a bit of my thesis on how women succeed. Women succeed when they do submit to men that can take them to where they want to go. And these women legit like found a man that could let them do that, be themselves, and then they succeeded just because they are who they are. And a little bit of luck, of course, is never just one thing. And for all the other women out there, like the feminists that are really like mad about the Tradwives and are like, no, women should definitely just like, be bosses and do all these things. Well, if you are arguing against a Tradwife, they're literally probably making more money than you.
Yeah, true. Well said.
Thank you. Master?
Thank you, Kirsten, for spoiling the housemate.
Oh yeah, he spoiled it in the comments.
He just did it. So sorry for him, for everybody that haven't seen the housemaid yet. Kirsten just totally spoiled.
Okay, we won't say it in the podcast, that way it's fine.
Okay.
But if you're on YouTube, you've been warned. Don't look at the live chat. Okay, this time I tried to do it differently. Like, I have questions for the audience, but Master, if you want to answer to it, if you want to come back on any of the stuff we talked about in the podcast, we can do that. Yeah, the whole point is to just kind of get more of what people want and more of who's listening to us. Because like I tried to do this episode for Women's Day on women so that they could come out and like talk about it, but I know most of our audience is male.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, unless like I don't know, unless there was a Prince Charming here, maybe it would be different. But so, do you think Tradwives are actually submissive, or they're just performing it for content?
I think the one that you hear about are the one that performing for content.
Okay, I'm gonna add to this that like I think you can't, like we always say, you can't do something that you don't love to that extent. Like you will stop before. So they really love being tradwives and they really love all of this, but at the same time there is one point where you become a brand. And so there is one point where what you put out in the world is a bit not sanitized. It's a brand.
They are a traditional wife for sure. They're doing that and they're showing it. And I think they have more fun of showing it
Than being that.
than being the tradwife. But they're having fun of being a tradwife. Don't get me wrong. But showing it with good branding, because you never see the tradwife that doing all this and the house is a mess. You don't see that. She's always got makeup. She's always beautiful. The other one that could be also a tradwife that wears like, joggings, that kind of, and doesn't wear makeup, do a good job, take care of the husband and all that. Those are not the one that you've seen on YouTube.
No, those are not the one you see. Okay, if you have comments, questions, make sure that you drop them in any comment section available wherever you're listening to this podcast. If there is none, because you're listening on a smart speaker or something like that, well, don't worry. You can just come and find us on happysubmissive.com and do everything from there. Okay. Now, be honest. Have you ever had a baby or wanted a baby to fill a void your partner wasn't filling? Well, Master, it was an accident. Your
Yeah,
kid,
it was
so
an accident. It still is. I think there's a lot of women that I've heard that a lot.
Even me being in my 30s now, which is a bit different, but I've been on like dates with women, and a lot of them have just kind of told me that they wanted children now just because, yeah, it's kind of, oh, it's time, or oh, it's not going great, maybe a kid. Like, and these are the stereotypes that you hear, that you're like, no, people should not have kids for these reasons. And these women were probably the ones saying that they would never do that in their 20s.
Exactly, and this is stupid. When you hear it's not going well, and I think a kid's gonna fix the things. No, kid's gonna mess up everything more than it is.
Well, it's already broken, so there's not a quick fix. But they use other words to say it, so it doesn't look like that. It's like, oh yeah, well, I'm getting older. Our couple is okay. But I want a kid. So it's not like they're not saying fill the void. They're not saying the stuff that they know they shouldn't say because they have to believe in it for it to be okay to do it. And so they're not saying all of that, but in the end, it's the same. It's the same.
It's because they say like, oh, I think I'm ready to have a kid. Then 2 weeks later, they tell you it's not going well with my boyfriend. We don't have sex anymore. And you were thinking, why did you say to me that you wanted a kid 2 weeks ago? Then after that, you're saying to me that it doesn't go well with your boyfriend. This is messed up.
Yeah, this is really messed up. Okay, would you rather have a man who says, whatever you want, babe, or a man who says, this is what we're going to do? That's that question for women, but that's the Prince Charming effect. Like Prince Charming in Disney movies, he comes and saves you, which is like, okay, this is more him taking the lead. But after that, he's more like, oh yeah, whatever you want, babe. And then like this is what the princesses have in their mind, like the woman princess thing is that, oh, you'll find a guy and he gives you everything you want and you don't have to work for it. You don't have to do nothing. You just stay there and the guy asks you whatever you want and then you're okay with that and he's okay with that. But you're not getting anything out of this relationship if you're just having a guy to get his money or to have him be like the cheerleader for you in that way. There's no, I don't see the point. I'm a woman and I'm in a master sub relationship, and that's, for me, that makes no sense. And the couples that we've seen that go that route, they don't end up well.
No, they don't.
Because there's no creativity, there's no growth. There's none of that like interdependence also, which makes for like this trust, this connection, this devotion, this at night you always sleep in the same bed and you always touch each other, and all of that gets really ingrained in a relationship that is more of a master apprentice or a DS like dom sub or master submissive, like all of these, and even intergenerational relationships too. When one of them is older, of course, there's a bit more of a sort of dependency, and so all these things are just not there in that way. Okay. What does International Women's Day mean to you? And do you feel included?
Yeah, it's true. That's a really a good question. What is it for you? What I'm sure there's a lot of men who feel weird about that day in a sense that, oh shit, I need to be careful. I don't know what, but I need to avoid women that day because it's not going to go well.
Yeah. Because it's like, yeah, it's the day where, okay, this is for women's rights, and it's for all the women out there who have been, wrongfully treated, and all of it is really about women. So you kind of leave them this like breeding room or this place to celebrate being a woman during that day. But in the end, like, for me, Women's Day is supposed to be women with women trying to kind of, change what woman means, who women are, and what we want as women. It's something that we need to fix with each other before we do that with men. And right now, it's really funny because it's not funny, but we're still fighting between all of us women. And so this is not going where we should go in that way. And I want to add to this that, like, there is also another study in the pod description, which is about that for the past 35 years, this is one study, but it found out that women in general are actually not as happy as they used to be in the 70s, which is interesting because we have more rights now. We have more like higher salaries. We have birth control. Like, we have all these things, but most women feel less happiness, and most men actually feel more happiness than they did back in the day. So this is just a little, like, food for thought about, okay, well, where are we going with this? If women argue about feminism and tradwives and argue about what submission is and gender roles, and we can't really come to a consensus, well, I mean, we can't expect for men to do so too, or for men to fix this problem in that way if we're fighting over each other.
Well said.
Thank you, Master. And, okay. If submission is a choice and it makes you happier, is that empowerment or betrayal of your own gender?
This is a good one to think about this and come back next week.
It's always next week. For those who have read the book, because I know there are some of you who have read Why Submissive Women Are Happier, and the feedback that I've got is that for those who already knew me as myself, Marian Delacroix, but also as Piper Blush, and for those of you who knew that Master was kind of in the picture during all these years, but even for those who might have not, the comments I've been getting is it's a lot more. Yeah, it's a lot more multifaceted than just, oh, Why Submissive Women Are Happier. Great, a book that I can masturbate to. Because this is what most people think when they read the title, but that's not really what is in there. What is in there is a lot closer to all the subjects and themes that we talk about in the podcast. That's a lot more what's all in the book. And so people are surprised. Some people are unfortunately disappointed that it's not just about, like, sex and being tied up.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the perfect steamy book. All in one book. But no, it is more of an intellectual piece of literature, and also, like, it's a memoir, so it's a life journey. Like, it's the way we did it, and it's the way we're still doing it. And so the conversations that we have about, wow, where's the world going right now? And what are we going to do?
And don't open the news right now because it's not going well.
Well, yeah, like the AI, the way people are in relationships right now, like all of the segments that we constructed for the podcast are literally things that for us keep on popping in our newsfeed. So it makes sense to have divided the podcast in that way.
Before we go, please subscribe to my website. I need subscriber.
To your channel.
My experiment channel.
Okay, the experiment channel is really cool. It's a philosophy, but it's also it's the one about AI, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And it's all made with us together in here. So it's all made by Master, and it's all the conversations that we also have. So if you like us already, you'll like this.
Yeah, it's philosophical conversation. Plus we have Blush Lab, but that's going to be another time.
That's for another time. So thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you definitely in the next one. But you can also hear us wherever, whenever you feel like it. Just ask for the Happy Submissive podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts.